Thanks for tuning into our podcast. We love having you here, and it's our mission to bring you all the latest and greatest tips, skills, and know-how to make you the best that you can be. We know that you have it in you, and we're going to show you how. Now, let's get started.
This episode is powered by Poddex.
Thank you for tuning in today. You are now listening to That Will Never Work podcast with your host, Maurice Chisholm. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in today. I really do appreciate it. I really do appreciate it. So today, I just want to share a little bit today. So over the last couple of days, I have been struggling with, my value. And someone had to remind me what I am offering, what I am worth, right? So my question to you, to all of you, are you having the same type of struggle? Are you trying to understand what you're really worth and what you provide to individuals? So I'll give you one of my examples from myself. I offer services, consulting services, and oftentimes when I talk to individuals, I provide more information than I probably need to, and so at that time they are no longer willing to come back, or there's no need for them to come back. And so I think what happens is that I miss an opportunity. Like, let's say, for an example, someone calls to get an idea, or they have a question, and I fully answer their question. Now, all of a sudden, am I offering my services free of charge? A lot of times I do that. What am I worth? What information am I giving to these individuals that I could be missing out on? My wife has been telling me oftentimes, Maurice, you need to understand what the cost is and how much you've been missing out over these last 10 years. And you're right. I'm listening to some of my interviews over the last 3-4 months, and a lot of them, they talk about understanding our value, understanding who we are and where we're going, and relieving stress, and in order for us to stay in a creative space. And a lot of times I'm in my creative space, or I'm able to touch and reach things with very little effort. I'm able to help people in a situation where, in most cases that I've come across, I've been able to take it, discern it, break it apart, put it back together, and help them move things forward. So am I losing what's going on? Am I losing my monetary value? Am I losing my self-worth? All these questions come up when I think about me just giving basic information when someone calls for a consultation, if you will. So when I look at, and a lot of times some of these people I've been interviewing, some of them have mentioned, hey, don't look at your competition as real competition. Just look at them as a friendly situation. Like, hey, you know what? You're doing this. I could take that. I could do a little bit better. Not necessarily like, they're my competition, I need to destroy it. Not that mindset, because ultimately you don't know who you're going to need to work with, who you're going to come across at some point in time. So you don't want to burn any bridges, more especially those that are built up in your mind where they're not reality, because that individual can meet you and they don't know anything about you. They're talking to you as genuine as possible, and then in your mind you've already flipped the switch like, they're my enemy, right? So what happens is that you're looking at these individuals as your competition, and all you're trying to do is compare yourself to these individuals. And I think sometimes we want to, in our comparison, we want to say, hey, you know what, we could do this, we could do it better. And what happens, and it's more especially in my position, I say, hey, I know I could do that. I know I can offer that, but I'm not getting compensated for it. Now, let's understand compensation does not always come in the form of finances. That's always, one thing people look at. We understand compensation is also respect. It's also referrals. It's also time spent, whatever it is, networking, invitations, things like that. Monetary is not always the end goal, in my opinion. There are a lot of different ways that you can be paid that does not always have a financial number attached because of, as I just stated, those other situations can put you in different places, right? But do we even understand when we are in those places too, what is our true value? And do we downplay it? Do we beat ourselves up because we're not at what the perceived level is for that environment? And so as we're trying to work our way through our pain points, and we're trying to walk our way through whatever it is we need to overcome in order for us to get to another level, what does that look like? What does that feel like? How are you going to manifest what's in place for you? So let's just keep that in mind today as we're trying to understand what is our true value when we walk into a room. What is it that we have? What are people expecting from us? One of the things that was said to me that when I walk into a room, my presence in most cases command a level of respect. I may not come in the room all loud because that's not just who I am, but there's an aura about me or around me that has a different level of respect where I'm just quiet and I have a real quiet confidence. So I don't feel like people are my competition, but in some cases when you feel less than because you are in a room with people that might make more to you appearance wise, or they might be more active on your social media, how many of us compare ourselves in that space and we feel like we're not worth anything? So understand what you're worth. Understand what you bring to the table. Let's evaluate that. Let's look at that from a real serious perspective. That's not always from a first person perspective, but you may have to go from a third person. Now that might sound crazy and say, Maurice, I can't talk to myself. But sometimes we need to do that because oftentimes people are not able to hear the criticism from those that's on the outside. They're like, there's 1,000 excuses. Well, I can't do. Well, guess what you can do? But maybe you need to talk to yourself. Maybe you'll hear it better from yourself. Now, if that's not the case, find someone else to talk to you. Find someone else that may not be so close to you where you might take it so painfully, and also someone that may be more objective to the situation and be able to see it from multiple sides and not just one-sided. Because a lot of times family members and friends that are closest to you, they know your mind, they know your heart, and they know what your desire is. And so they may not always give you the truth. So today, as we are evaluating this and trying to take a look at what are our next steps, let's be mindful that we need to really think about our worth. We need to consider that every time we walk into a room. We need to consider that every time we walk on our jobs, every time we are handling our business, anytime we're taking a phone call, let's understand our worth. And even in that, let's practice great customer service. Not good, not fair, but great customer service, because that also helps to sell what you're putting out there. So I hope this message today speaks to you. I know I'm speaking to myself in this situation, and I hope that you can move forward and be confident in who you are.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.